Where we're going, we don't need AR-1's. You'll see what I mean coming right up. Hi, I'm Roy Smith. That's right, on my layout, we don't need no AR-1's. In today's episode, I'm going to show you why not. First, we need to go back in time, all the way back to last Saturday. Do you remember that I tried to install an AR-1 automatic reverser on a section of track on my layout during last Saturday's episode? If you saw that episode, then you know that I failed in trying to do this. It wouldn't work. So I asked for your help and you inundated me with suggestions. Well, I implemented your suggestions along with everything else I could find about AR-1's on the internet. Here's what I did. Along with insulated rail joiners at Redbox B, I also installed them at Redbox A, as you see here on this really simplified schematic of my track plan. This was the single biggest recommendation that you all gave me. I double-checked my rail joiners to make sure they were doing their job of insulating the rails for the isolated section of track. I tried reversing the blue and white drop feeders on the track. I disconnected the track power to the AR-1 from the mainline track and reconnected it to the bus wires under the layout. And I adjusted and readjusted the tunable trip current knob on the AR-1 multiple times. Oh, by the way, there were no turnouts within the isolated section of track, nor were there any drop feeders going from the isolated section down to the layout bus wires. So in effect, I tried everything I could, and the AR-1 still wouldn't work. I concluded that my AR-1 may have gotten damaged. That left me with two options. One, I could buy a new AR-1 or perhaps a PSX-AR instead. Or two, I could change the track arrangement in a way that would eliminate the need for an auto reverser. And here's what I have decided to do. I have decided to make a small change in the track arrangement to eliminate the need for an auto reverser. Let me show you. I'm going to make that change here where you see red circle number 1 on this copy of my track plan. The change at number 1 will then allow me to eliminate the crossover in red circle number 2, as you will see. Let's get started at number 1. Until now, the track in red circle 1 looked like this with straight through sections of track. And those two tracks passed through the scenic divider, arriving at Granger Junction as you see here. Actually, this is where my track polarity problem began. Look at the track on the left as it goes through the scenic divider. The rail with the white drop feeder on the front at Granger ends up being on the back as it goes through the curve on the other side of the scenic divider. It's an issue in track geometry. This is the track I tried to isolate and fix the polarity issue in last Saturday's layout update. But since using an AR-1 to fix this polarity issue didn't work, I had to do something different. You can see that I have removed the straight sections of track that were here and have replaced them with a double crossover. But there were two things that I had to do to make this idea work. First, I had to cut the rails as indicated here using my rail cutters. These were the only cuts that were necessary because the other rails in the crossover are already insulated. As I said, I was able to cut the rails easily using my rail cutters. The second thing I had to do was to install drop feeders as indicated by the short blue and white lines. This is not the way you normally install feeder wires for a double crossover, but it's the way I had to do it to fix my track polarity issue. For a great explanation of how you would normally install these drop feeders, I refer you to a video by Mike Pfeiffer called N-Scale Cato Double Crossover How-To. I'll put a link to Mike's video down below. Trains running through the double crossover will always cross over to the adjacent track as they go through the double crossover. They will never go straight through. Now, a double crossover in the main line is not prototypical, and it isn't elegant either, but it does solve my really big polarity problem right here in this small area of my layout. All right, it's time to test it out by running a locomotive through the crossover. Remember, as I said, trains will always move over to the adjacent track when they go through the crossover. Well, as you can see, it's working, and I didn't need to install an AR-1 or other auto reverser. Once I paint and ballast the track here, you will hardly even notice the double crossover when viewing it from normal eye level. All right, let's move through Pocatello Yard, over to the west end of the yard and the lift-up section. This is where I'm going to make changes in the track arrangement as indicated by red circle number 2. As you know from my previous videos, this lift-up section makes it easy for me to go in and out of my train room. Here I want to eliminate that crossover and unscramble tracks 2 and 3 in the process. To do this, I have to remove the existing track. You may recall that I glued the track down to the pink foam using white glue. So to remove the track, I start by applying some water along the track roadbed. This should soften the glue and thus make it easier to remove the track. Then, with an old X-Acto knife, I gently begin to pry up the track. And finally remove it. Changing an existing track arrangement is easy with Kato Unitrack. Now I install the new track here. And now it's time once again to do some testing. The diesel passes through the new track without any problems. Here's what the new track arrangement looks like from outside the train room. None of the track has been painted or ballasted. I want to run trains on it for a while before doing that. I think it's a big improvement in the track arrangement. So last week you saw me failing to fix the problem in track polarity using an AR-1. And today you saw me fix the track polarity problem by making a simple change in the track arrangement. Sometimes we just need a little more time to figure out the simplest and best solutions to problems in model railroading. Well, thank you for joining me for today's layout update. Until next time, happy railroading. I'm Roy Smith, and I will see you again very soon.